morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning, where I am back to being the number one greatest dad, as it keeps fading away with every wash. But it is there, number one, and I'm still here. And number two is still hanging in there, looking for it to fade away further. I know what you're trying to do, Gordo. What's happened?
Not much. I feel like number two, Dad. We had a good practice session last night. It was very, very positive. Obviously, it's 3 and 4 year olds, so it's not a great practice. But when you can retain attention for an hour, it's a good practice.
Wow, an hour, man.
Yeah, I remember those days, man. That's hard. That is very difficult. So you gotta it's like a drill game, and stuff like that. And
Yep,
even
that's
then,
exactly what we did. Yeah,
you lose. Like you're like, dude, what are you even doing? Like, get up. Yeah, I remember. It was fun though. Miss those days. And Salim is with us. I know Salim is in those rankings somewhere, but we have not established a true ranking yet. What's happening, man?
What's up, man? I have a 5-year-old, just turned 5 last weekend. So I know, Gordon, I know what you're going through, man. I did that over the summer, and it was just kids rolling around, jumping in the goal. Yep. It was wild.
Yeah, the sitting down kids are the ones that got to me. I like the challenge of kids who were they were not good, or they had never touched the ball and stuff like that. Getting them that was fun. But then like the dude that's just like suddenly starts rolling around and picking grass and stuff. She's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and I don't understand.
It's contagious.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
That's
like,
the problem.
Are you doing?
Yeah. Ooh.
Picking grass. Good call. But goddamn, Sparky is now in South Dakota. I mean, where is Sparky? Should be a game that we all play. Dude is all over the place. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. As we get to some news over here, so we have news. Finally, from Klopp. So because I just hope to God at this point we kind of slowly move on and not worry about like what toilet paper is he using to wipe his ass now and stuff. But okay, so the Red Bull group, he's in there now. But so to follow this up, I don't know why they went out of their way to clarify that he's like, hey, he's just mentoring coaches though, nothing else, kind of a deal. Makes sense to you, Gordo, in terms of the job, what it is, what he's gonna do?
I mean, yeah.
Or you
like
the
manager of all man. I didn't, right? This is like definitely out kind of left field. I don't know. He doesn't seem like somebody that wants to take that far of a step away from being on the pitch to doing something like this. He seems more of like he likes to be in the trenches with the guys. And this is so far removed from that. It's not even like you're not even the director of one club. You're director of like the organization. So it is kind of like in my sense of what I thought he'd do next. This is way outside of that realm, but it makes perfect sense because he's a really good man manager, and he's a good leader of men, and like he's all the way at the top. He can influence multiple clubs. So I think it's a good signing by Red Bull, but definitely not what I thought Klopp would be doing.
Yeah, I guess in that sense, I'm a little shocked too, because it says mentoring coaches, supporting sports directors, mentoring coaches, helping to develop talents across Red Bull's network. And it said Klopp will be the strongest signing in, Red Bull soccer history, which is, obviously not that long. But I guess, Salim, the thing is, it just sounds like a glorified... what's the word I'm looking for here? And I just had a brain fart. But consulting job. Like it just sounds like a consulting gig, which I did not put on the same thing as Klopp, because I just don't think that's his strength. His strength is more constant interaction, it feels like.
Yeah, I think it's a cushy job, actually. To be honest, the mentoring the coaches and the sporting directors. I mean, Red Bull has a team in Brazil, a team in Japan, Germany, Austria, US. So it's a big organization. And I think the fact that now coaches and sporting directors have somebody that they can look up to and ask questions to and get kind of direct answers on the way his philosophy on soccer, football, whatever you want to call it is. I think it's I agree with Gordon. This isn't kind of like the job you think he would take. He doesn't start till January 1st, so we'll see if this actually fully pans out. But I think overall, the fact that they say this might be the greatest signing, I think they're looking at him to really guide the organization forward. Now, we're going to see if he can do that because, as Gordon said, like he's more of an in the trenches kind of guy. Like he's a dude's dude, like he wants to be in there with the guys in the locker room. So it's going to be interesting to see how, can he go from 100 feet up to 10,000 feet and just kind of look at the big picture from an organizational standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like, I mean, maybe we have the wrong impression of him, like we've only seen him in one context, but it's almost like, like the crazy lineman's coach in NFL or like the linebackers coach that's like just like screaming with the players and stuff on the sideline. It's like making that guy that like the general manager the next day. You're like, hey, you're really passionate about this. We're going to make you general manager and put you in the office. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, do you think, is he going to be that kind of like just a figure that shows up at meetings and says, you know what I would do? And then, goes home again? Or do you think this is actually like is this a job, or is he like sitting in the board of directors kind of job?
It's not a job. It can't be a job. Like Salim said, this isn't just a cushy job where he's probably supposed to jump into meetings or like, hey, Jurgen, we got this issue. How would you settle this? But we know Jurgen, and it's going to be a situation where he's at every meeting. He gets super involved. Red Bull becomes the big. He's gone from like the camp counselor with the guitar to like the camp direct, like running the entire organization, right? Like he's not going to ever not be the guy with the guitar, right? You can't make that guy not sit at the campfire and strum the guitar for all the kids. He's just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's odd. I guess we'll see like how it turns out. It's just, I was shocked to see that this morning that is the gig he got. In some ways, I mean, Serzi is right. Health-wise, it's perfect for him. Yeah, because it's like Salim said, it's kind of like a cushy gig. You're like, I'll mentor him. Yeah, like what I would do, and like get a couple of them. And one time I was talking to Bobby, and then it's just gonna be a couple of things like that. I just don't know. Like we talked about, like Salim was saying, like he's kind of like a trenches kind of dude. If he's not gonna have, this is why I felt like he was never a good candidate for an international gig either, because he's not going to have that constant contact to improve him unless he goes your way, Gordo, and he's like in one team's camp this week, the other team's camp the next week and stuff like that, like supervising the action. But it will be interesting. He'll attract a lot of young players, says. Do you agree with that, Salim? Will anybody be like, I mean, if I am going to the Red Bull franchise now as a young player, because I know my way up is a lot faster in some ways because there's already a mechanism. Like I'm going to go to Austria. If I do good, I'm going to go to Germany. If I do good, then I'll go somewhere else anyway. Like, so I feel like it was already a tempting gig for a young player. Like I would put my kid, and you guys can put your kids into the Red Bull system and be like, hey, you'll just bounce up over here. Like they promote within kind of a deal.
It's an interesting thought. I think, we'll find out. They already have kind of that youth system in place, and the fact that there's levels at different clubs at different levels that they can kind of jump their way up. But I don't know if Jurgen Klopp's going to necessarily be selecting players. It doesn't sound like that. So I don't know if that's I don't know how much sway he's going to have on transfers, how much sway he's going to have on tactics. To be honest, I don't think he's going to have any sway on that stuff. I think it's literally just support the coaches, support the directors, support the organization.
Yeah, that's the impression I get too. He's going to be like, you got a problem, guy? Here's what I would do to the coaches more than like actually recruit. But I think like Serzi thinks that, if somebody is deciding, it will be, oh, that's where Klopp is kind of a thing. I don't know. I think they already had that attraction, but I'm sure it doesn't hurt. So Serzi's probably right.
Yeah. I can see that point for sure.
Ryan says, I'm honestly just happy he isn't coaching PSG. I don't think he was going to not anytime soon, because that would really look bad on him, I think, if he took a coaching job this soon. Because you can't say everything you said and then just go a week later, you're like, I feel so much better now, and then just take another job. But
especially
He does have a
PSG.
clause. He does have a clause. I did see this as well. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I did see this as well, that he has a clause that he'll be let go off the contract if he gets the Germany job, kind of a deal. But
I think maybe also, if I could just jump in for a second, this could be a good jump off point to an international job. So, kind of having a bunch of teams that you're kind of looking over and not really involved in from a day-to-day standpoint, it might be a good jumping off point to an international job.
So just that he's being employed as a global talent spotter, I'm not seeing that anywhere. I'm just seeing a guy who is holding a couple of PowerPoint meetings with the other coaches. That's, I mean, like, when you read the job title, that's what I'm thinking. They're like, see over here, Mane wasn't passing to Mo wasn't passing to Mane. I said, do whatever the fuck you guys want, and then we won. I mean, basically, I don't know, like, that's what I envision. Like, he's holding these meetings with coaches or having personal meetings with coaches and training them more on coaching than anything else, is how I saw it. I mean, I love Klopp. I would not hire him as a global talent spotter because I don't think that's his strength. Because really, our recruitment has gone down once the guys who were actually doing that job left. His talent is more maybe taking a guy that most would consider 6 out of 10 and getting the best out of him, making him like an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or something like that. So, but there are some things he doesn't do, apparently, because the comparison game continues. And Mo says, with Klopp, our style of playing was always consistent. We imposed our way of playing on any team we faced. With Arne, we sometimes make changes and adapts depending on the team we're playing against. I know, Gordo, where this is like, while things are going good, it's like, this is so much better because kind of a thing.
Right.
And they do have to say something positive. But we have seen a bit more of adjustments a lot earlier than we did. Like, whether it's substitution or playing style or what we're doing, we are seeing a manager who's making changes a bit earlier and switching to the other plan, as opposed to sticking out to like the 75th minute, then sending a couple of subs and play the same positions and then see. I mean, it's a style, right? You either say, this is what we do. If we do it well, we're going to beat everybody. Mm-hmm. Or you say, this is what we do, but if they do this, then we do this, kind of a deal.
Yeah, and like you said, when it's going good, it doesn't matter, right? You can say whatever you want, like, oh, this is different. That was good. We won with this. We can do it with here. But it's one of these situations that if it works for the manager, you just don't want a manager trying to do something they're not comfortable with. So, like, if Jurgen wasn't comfortable changing tactics and he was trying to change tactics, because how often did we say, like, that was the wrong sub? Like, how often did Klopp make the wrong sub? Because his style was, I'm going to set the 11 up that I want to play. And this is how we're going to play. Oh, it's not working. Well, this is my plan. So I've got nobody on the bench that's going to fix this. I've just got to, and we had a couple players that could do whatever, wherever Klopp needed them, like Milner and stuff. With Arne, it's different because he likes that, that piecing together the erector set of like changing little pieces and making the catapult into a dump truck, So I think it's just, when everything's going well, it looks great. But what we've had problems when it wasn't going well with Jurgen, we're going to have problems when it's not working with Arne too. We're going to be like, why didn't you just keep it the same? Why didn't you do that? So it's sport, right? You win games, nobody cares. You lose games, everyone's going to try and pick apart your methods.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Salim. Everybody is trying to. I mean, obviously, these guys work with Klopp a long time. Maybe except a few that didn't maybe get as many chances and minutes, can be a bit more really love Arne more, kind of a deal. But overall, they're going to try to say things that doesn't make Klopp look bad either, but makes the new guy look good because things are going well. Do you notice a difference as a fan, like, between the two coaching styles? While we've only seen him for like 10, 12 matches or whatever for slots, but
I think you can. It's heavy metal football with Klopp, charging forward, with just going forward, not caring about anything really. But I think that what Mo is kind of saying here is that Arne has a kind of more styles to play. When I saw that the first thing I thought of was NFL football. Like Bill Belichick is known for tailoring his approach to every game, while there are other coaches that just know one style. So if that's what he's saying, that's really encouraging, because that means that Arne Slot is going to tinker with stuff, is going to try to change games that aren't going right by changing a tactic, where Klopp didn't necessarily have that. He just had the bodies to come in and kind of continue pressing the style he wants. Now, I'm not saying that Arne Slot's better than Klopp, so don't get, I'm just saying I think that's what Mo is saying that Arne's trying to do. I love Klopp. I love that style. It was so exciting. We had so many ups, a couple downs. It was fun. It was just a lot of fun. Now, Arne Slot, it hasn't been as fun, but we've only given up 2 goals in the league.
Yeah.
4 goals in total. We're winning games relatively convincingly. I mean, there's been a couple hiccups. Okay, that's going to happen in football, but I think that's what Mo is saying, that there might be more different approaches that Arne's trying to do, and that would be pretty cool to see, especially if he, he's probably going to fall flat on his head a couple times, and that's fine. He's going to grow into it, but if he actually does have that, that's going to be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but of course it goes both ways, Gordo, because I mean, it's NFL morning, but like, yeah, that's a good analogy. I think is like a Belichick thing, because some coaches say like, this is how we play. I don't care who we play. If we do what we're supposed to do right, it's gonna work, and we're gonna win anyway, kind of a deal. Whereas you do have a coach like Belichick, for example, who cuts his sleeves and then goes out there and says, okay, we're gonna play like this, and like tailor it to the team they're playing, and actually like attack their weaknesses or whatever. It's all fine and dandy, of course, Gordo, where we've seen some managers. We haven't seen as much from Slot yet to be able to see it, but we've seen some managers almost like Pep sometimes does this, right? Like overthinks and over adjusts. And it's like, dude, it was working. Why did you even like go out of your way to screw things up? So it's a fine balance when you look at that.
Yeah, like always looking to change something instead of, there is no being still. It's a moving chessboard basically. And sometimes coaches like that, like Pep is one of these, and like you said, we haven't seen enough of Arne yet to determine if this is how he is, but Pep will change the system bringing on like one person.
Yeah,
like Grealish comes off the bench and like, oh, Grealish plays a little bit different on this side, so now just because we're bringing one player on that plays differently, now we have to adjust the whole system. And not only what that does is confuses the players, because that's how their talks are before the week before, right? So it's like they're sitting down. This is how we're going to play. If I bring Grealish on, then you're going to occupy this space when we have the ball and this space when we don't have the ball. And so then the players are almost like an NFL playbook, right? They're like, okay, hey, where's my sleeve? All right, Grealish is on. Okay, so now I'm quadrant 3 with the ball, quadrant 4 without the ball. So it definitely changes the dynamics of the entire team, because it's a mental sport too. And part of the problem with that is if Slot is like that and we do lose, we talk about pretty much every show, but Trent, Verge, Mo, Allison on new contracts. Those are the players that have the mental ability to do that. You lose those pieces and you can't drag the team through that, because you've got a lot of guys who don't have the ability to do depth like that. So it's a double-edged sword. You win games, it doesn't matter. You lose games, then you're going to try and pick it apart.
Yeah, we're like, why did he change it? It was working so well with so-and-so over there and stuff. Ryan says we have someone who now can play multiple formations, multiple tactics from each formation. Nice to see. We now have the hardest part of the season coming. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to really find out what's what between now and the next international break, especially with Noah Ali in goal and stuff like that, which at least, we have someone we're semi-confident in and not just going to Jarosz like direct or something like that. But I guess I was watching, we fell in a mini YouTube hole with Angel last night, like with some Liverpool videos and stuff. Then there was like an interview with Slot we were watching, and he was talking about like kind of like teaching the players the new system slowly. So there's like more to come in terms of what we're going to do. But he did mention, obviously, when the players are good, it's a lot easier to change, Salim, because they understand. Because there's a lot of, I remember like Trent talking about, how they respond to the press during buildup. And there's always like, if they're doing this, then we do this. It's kind of like the playbook that Gordo is talking about. like, what do you think? So we're only seeing like a glimpse of it, right? He's only changed a couple of things that were maybe simpler to adjust, stop the bleeding in terms of getting goals scored on us constantly that we have to dig our hole. Like, what would you want to see, or what do you think we're going to see as he kind of like instills this more and more and more?
I'm not sure. I don't, I don't watch the Eredivisie a lot, so I don't know too much about him. I jumped on some videos and, some people that broke it down. I'm not sure, but what I do like is that he is going slowly, because when you have a team that knows their kind of identity and come in and just kind of start ripping stuff up, it just doesn't go well. And the fact that, nobody was brought in, a couple people like left, but it was just it was comforting to see that he is taking it slowly. He is kind of easing everybody into it. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think there's that much of a change that's going to come that's going to be like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
But if he changes tactics, I think that might be the one thing, like the Belichick thing. I think that might be the one thing that we'll eventually kind of start to see.
And I mean, we were told this a lot in summer, right? And it did sound a little bit like, okay, you guys are just saying this, that we did not bring anybody in because, we wanted to kind of take a look at what we have and not evaluate and stuff like that. I mean, Gordo, now it makes a lot more sense in some ways. It's just like when I listened to him yesterday, like he's talking about, like getting to know players, teaching them where to be and stuff like that, and then slowly teach him the concepts. First of all, it's a lot easier to do with a team that's established. You're not working somebody new in at the same time. You guys were doing this. Now we're changing this a little bit. See what we're doing over here and kind of thing. And maybe eliminating, like, actually, maybe he did look at the squad and said, you know what, this is fine. Let me just work with these guys. And then look at some guys and say, okay, this guy's never going to play, so you guys can't sell him. And we sold maybe some of the young guys to get the funds or, build up the stack so that when he comes in this offseason, or if we don't re-sign some of these guys, we can get the type of player he exactly wants. I know we were fed it a lot, and it sounded like, yeah, you guys are just saying this. But now it's kind of like almost making more sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a positive way to look at it. And obviously we've won the majority of our games. We've dropped one game at home against Forest. Everything else has been rosy. And so it's easy to look at it like that. Now, have we dropped 3 of those games, we could be talking like that was the stupidest thing we've ever done. But it makes sense right now because, we're winning a lot of games. I still don't think it's a smart move because we don't have the depth for the season. Like even if everyone stays healthy, we've got so many games this year that you do need some rotation. And we've got the guys on contracts. We're not just now that we're in almost November. We got to start looking at the guys that had 2 years on their contracts in the summer, which is the 4 big stars are on 1 year. Well, now, it's almost 6 months now, but that was the sole focus that we stopped looking at the 2-year guys too. So now we've got a huge problem and we haven't brought anybody in. So while I can see that approach and understand that approach, it's still not good business because you do need to, you need to fill your bench. You have to. It's a grueling season. All the players talk about it. The coaches are banging on about it, and you just need the body. So, in theory, on paper, I think it's a way to kind of appease the fans for no signings. But I still don't think it was a smart move.
Which position? Like, I mean, when I look at the squad in terms of, could I probably used a guy there? The only spot I can think of is really defensive midfield in terms of, that double pivot, somebody to, I mean, aside from that, really, and we did try to address that with the guy that he wanted. It didn't pan out. We were like, if it's not him, we kind of pulled the Edwards way of, this is the guy we want. If it's not going to happen, then okay, it doesn't happen kind of a deal. I mean, do you have another spot that you're like, man, we should have gotten some more cover there? Because I feel like in my head, if I make a depth shot, I have like 2-3 really quality guys for every spot. I mean, obviously there will be injuries, but is there another position that you had in mind? Like, we should have gotten somebody there.
I mean, probably not right off the top of my head. I guess with the system, right? Because at the beginning of the season, the other thing too was we had a lot of players that didn't fit Klopp's system. that were ready on their
Yes,
way out.
that's
Which,
true.
like, now we've got Gravenberch, which is basically another signing because we barely saw him. He did not play very well under Klopp, and now he's, a man on fire. And so I think that's kind of changed perspectives. But we do have a lot of players that healthy, if everyone stays healthy, you've got a depth chart too. But we have an awful lot of players on this roster, looking at you, Allison, that get periodically injured and injured for long periods of time, or multiple injuries throughout the year, which add up. You've got Jota, who's he took a knock and wasn't available to play in the midweek. Chiesa, who we bought, that already had an injury problem, that's already taken a knock. So I think you just need to fill those spaces with bodies in that sense for the inevitable injuries. And then you've got other players like, Nunes. It's still so early, but like just isn't fitting this system either. And so you're probably looking at moving him out. So while we do have 6 bodies up there, one of them is not working. One of them's injured. Another one possibly gets injured quite often. And then you've got certain positions like that left wing side with Diaz and Gakpo that looks solid. You don't need anyone over there, right?
Yeah.
And you've got and we just signed Kwanzaa to a new deal, so the center back's looking a little bit more secure. I would still say that we need a left back. I think Robertson's kind of on the decline.
Man of the match. What?
Well, yeah, but like we know that he is not the reliable, like full-time guy over there. Like he's more of like the Kelleher of the left back position. Like
that's why I think I kind of, now looking back, I like it actually more in terms of what we did, because like that is a good example. But there's like some things where you got to make a change there down the road. But I think, especially when you have a new manager, Salim, I feel like now it has paid. I mean, it's early goings, right? Like in 4 or 5 games over here, if things start going south, we might be like, we needed a guy here. But in some ways, I feel like it has really helped him just tweak things, because we didn't have to bet in a dude from, I don't know, Colombia in left back or something like that. That's like a fish out of water coming to the Premier League. Everybody has already been there, done that. They're just doing things a little bit differently. And which, as you hear it from every player, and anybody who's had a boss, regardless of how great the boss is, after so long, it's good to have another one. Just to have just a different freaking voice in a meeting by itself.
Yeah.
It's a nice ordeal.
Well, let's not forget, it was a busy ass summer, man. Euros, Copa America, Olympics. I mean, there really wasn't much time to talk to players and get players in. I think overall it was a pretty quiet transfer market for a lot of teams because of that. A lot of deals kind of got done late, which was interesting. Some deals that we had heard were done like in June weren't even actually completed until the last couple weeks of the transfer window. So I think we need to keep that in mind, because if it wasn't that busy, maybe we're looking at a different type of team here. Maybe we are a little bit more aggressive on bringing people in. I just think when you have players playing in these major tournaments, focusing on those tournaments, their agents are probably like, hey, he's playing in Copa America. He's playing in the Euros. He does not want to be bothered about anything right now. Like, he's focusing on trying to win a tournament. So and then the Olympics, so, I think that's a major, major situation on why it was kind of quiet. Not only do we have a good team, but I think if there were more moves to be made, if it was not as busy of a summer, I think we would have made them. I just think because of that, Arne Slot could only analyze the players that he had in Liverpool that weren't on international duty. So he did that, and then they all came back with like a week or 10 days before the season started. So then he's got to analyze that, and then then the window closes. So it's just I just don't think there was a lot of time, and because of the busy summer, it just wasn't really like a ripe market.
I mean, it almost sounds like Slot made his job a bit easier too. They were like, let's keep everything the same. Let's not try to work on a new guy in and stuff too. Let's see what we got. I mean, that could spell maybe some action in January, or definitely a busier summer. Either way, I mean, especially if we don't extend contracts, it's going to have to be a busy summer either way, Gordo. But overall, I feel like, I mean, if you look at depth, right? Which team would you say has better depth than? I mean, when I look around the league, I feel like Arsenal has depth, but not up top, for example, right? I think in certain positions they have more depth, but I wouldn't say like in terms of like going forward, I think we have the best depth. But like, are there any squads that you're like, yeah, they have more depth than us? Because I feel like you look at benches. I'll take our bench over City's bench, for example, any day.
Yeah, but you look at like the best City teams were definitely deep. Like this season,
Yeah, they're all yeah.
But City of 3-4 years ago, that's a deep team. That's what I'd like to see. Now, obviously, they assemble those teams by illegal means, or hopefully we'll find out. So maybe it's not possible to do. So maybe it's wishful thinking.
Sergi says, I think FSG wanted to see how well Slot panned out before we gave him money to invest.
I see with that though. So we bring in all these guys that left because they wanted all the say, right? And there was there was friction between Jurgen not having as much say as he wanted. So it'd be weird to now say that those guys have decided that Slot gets a say in the market, right? Like with Slot to be like, well, I don't know who I have, so let's hold off on buying people. That to me is like, wait, so now it's like a totally different approach. I don't think that those guys have changed the way that they handle situations. And personally, especially because you're the new man on the block and you don't have any history in the Premier League, you probably don't have much say. So I don't think like him coming in and going, hey guys, can we hold off because I want to see what we have first. That would be, I'm not saying that's not happening, but that would be interesting for me to read, that they were like, all right, we'll listen to this manager who previously we didn't want to listen to a manager, which is why we left.
Well, not only that though, because he was given the head coach job, not manager job. So like there's a distinct difference in what he's doing versus being the cook that gets to pick the ingredients. He's not that. He's like the sous chef. Like he's the head coach. He is not the manager. He doesn't have any admin. Not his job. They want him to focus specifically on the players that are there. So that I think is a huge distinction as well, because they've specifically said that. Like, are you okay coming here being the head coach? We're not giving you a manager job. We're giving you the coaching job.
I mean, I get what you guys are saying, but at the same time, it still makes sense to me that they would not throw in a bunch of new ingredients. I mean, let's go to the kitchen because I love a food analogy. But I mean, why don't you see if you like our tomatoes first before I give you some weird ass vegetable to work with? You know what I mean? It's just like kind of like see what we got in there, learn where everything is, and then once you get settled in and say, in your system, this is how I like to do things. If you want like a different kind of pan or pot, we'll get it for you. Because I mean, instead of maybe they've learned, Gordo, because they got some guys in the past and they were like, here's the center back, this dude from Turkey, Kabak. Like, how do you like them apples and stuff? Or like, hey, you wanted the center back? Here's Ben Davies. Maybe they did learn and say, hey, instead of just wasting money, because obviously they want to look at the bottom line, like, let's see what he needs first instead of just like throwing things that we think we need. If he's not going to use them, we're wasting money anyway.
Well, wouldn't that be agitating that they didn't figure that out under Jurgen Klopp?
But like we said, like a guy like Gravenberg, who seems like doesn't fit and is not going to work, is now a key part. So maybe they were like, and here's another thing, like a guy when Klopp came that we were like, well, this guy's not going to pan out, ended up being like a key part of the team. So maybe they were like, you know what, you take a look, you see what you got. Because I don't know, like as management, I've taken over places before. I want to get some information. I think we talked about this before. Like, I want to get some information, but I don't want to know everything that you think, because I want to figure it out for myself. Because you might say, and I mean, one thing that he said over and over and over again in that interview, like literally multiple times, is the discipline that Klopp instilled in the team. That normally he spends some time putting that discipline in where everybody is on time and stuff. He was actually making fun of it, saying like us Dutch, we kind of like do stuff, but they had like German discipline where everybody is always on time. When he goes there, he's like, holy shit, everybody's here for training and didn't have to worry about anybody being late and stuff like that. But like I said, I just feel like in some ways you want to have the new guy evaluate things his way instead of going from a report. You know, like they always did this in Fenerbahce, like on his way out, you left a report for the new manager. Okay, you know, I would just take that report, crumble it, and throw it away because there's a reason you got fired. I got to start fresh.
Yeah, but again, like I was banging the drum in summer, that's such a big gamble to be like, oh, one of these players is going to work so much better under this system, or like everyone's going to stay healthy. You know, like those are giant gambles that at this level of sport you don't want to be taking, right? It's like I said, if everybody stays healthy, this is a great team, and we will go far, and we will be able to change positions like for like without seeing too much of a dip in form. But that's not what's going to happen, and that hasn't been what's happened. Like, why would that be? Why would this year be any different than the previous years? Someone's going to get injured. It happens on every team. Look at Rodri. You could say that Jurgen Klopp has, you know, the difficult trainings, and he sometimes will do 2-a-days, or he'll do a weight training and practice training, and slots a little more laid back, and the guys are going to get more rest in training sessions. But you never hear that, you know, Pep's training sessions are exactly like Klopp's, and his guys still get injured. It's just what happens in a season. So to say that, like, well, let's see what we got because one of these guys might shake out is just I don't know. It just feels like an irresponsible gamble. It paid off, which is great, but like, you know, sometimes you win the house and sometimes you lose the pink slip to your car. It's like, you really want to be taking those gambles in the Premier League?
Man, our analogies are all over the freaking place today. That's funny. Coach managers will always have say, like a chef will always said. I mean, I guess here's the thing. You can say what ingredient you want. I mean, you might want fresh lobster, and I might be like, dude, I'll get you lobster, but I'm not talking like it might not come from Maine, you know, just like, so, I mean, there's the difference there too, right? I mean, you know, yeah, I'll get you a midfielder, but I would not be the guy you want. Alan says, let's see what FSG do in the January transfer window. I'd be disappointed if they did not buy someone. I honestly think the same way, Salim. I almost feel like this January there will be a move because now, see, I'm like really big on like giving the new guy time to kind of look, figure out, evaluate, give a shopping list, and say this is what we want. It almost seemed like we did have a shopping list, but there was only one name on it. Maybe there'll be multiple, and there may be more positions. Maybe he'll say, yes, we will need a left back. As much as Costas got man of the match from Brian Shelton this weekend. And then, you know, maybe he will be on the list. But I expect personally, too, that something will happen in January that will be a key piece added to his vision.
Yeah, especially if, you know, Mo and Trent and Virgil, you know, if there's no headway in that, we're going to have to do something. I think, you know, for FSG being like, you know, fiscally responsible and all this, it just, I'm not understanding why we're not signing these guys, because if you let them go, I don't care. Pay Mo what he wants. It doesn't matter. The fact is you're going to have to pay 50, 60, 70, 80 million dollars for somebody to come in there that might not even be half as good as him. So it's just like, to me, it's just like mind boggling that these guys, that they're not looking at it that way. So I'm kind of like interested in, I wish I could be just a fly in that boardroom, just to understand what the thought process is behind it, because I just can't see one. Now, if these guys don't sign or whatever happens, like, yeah, we got to do something in January, because if not, every team in the world is going to know we need players, and they are going to fleece us, you know, like, you know, Man United is a classic example of that. You know, Man United, Man United called, price just went up 20% just because they're stupid and they spend money on the shiny new toy. For us, they're just gonna be like, well, guess what, Liverpool, you need a right back, and you need a right winger, and you need a new strong central defender. Price just went up.
And they did do that. They did do that to us like a couple of summers ago, and I think they've done it for the last. And I think that's why we needed somebody, because it's always been overpriced for us, and we were like, no, we're not falling in for that. But at the same time, I do think. I mean, Sparky says we will buy a right back, center back, right mid. I think, you know, like when you look at Mo and when you look at Van Dijk, while I get what you're saying, the replacement cost is a lot more. At the same time, Gordo, you don't want to. I assume. We don't know the details, but I assume the sticking point is the length of the contract with these guys, because you don't want to be in a situation like United, where you have a guy like Casemiro at freaking like getting ridiculous wages, 85 years old, like just like rolling with a wheelchair across midfield, and then you're like, what the fuck were we thinking? So you have a right midfielder just walking around, like a right wing who's just walking around, or a center back who can't turn around anymore. Like 3 years from now, I think it's a lesser risk with a center back. I almost feel like the biggest risk in terms of signing a longer term contract, assuming that's the sticking point, with a guy like Mo, because I mean, wingers don't get better as they age. I mean, nobody gets fucking better as they age except wine, but
I mean, like I always say, like
Whiskey too, yeah.
I think we want the players to love the club as much as we do. And it would make sense to be like, all right, you want to move on. Well, look, we're in kind of a bind right now. So if you sign a 1-year contract, you play it out, or you move in January just so that we can get the money from your transfer, right? Like help us out a little bit. Because are you saying that somebody would not be willing to pay for Mo? Like, because the argument could be like, well, it's so much easier to move him somewhere if there's no transfer fee, right? If he's a free agent, he goes, his contract expires and he walks somewhere. Everyone would love that. But if you want Mo, you'd pay for him for sure. So it's
but
not.
then if you don't, like what Real does is, I mean, they've done this with Mbappe. They've done this with, like, they did it for, I mean, where they can now, the 30, 40 million I was going to pay you, I can just flush that into your wages, and now you're getting more money. So why would I sign a money? I can see Trent doing that. And this is why we were talking about, I think, last week. I expect Trent not to pull this and leave on a free. But, you know, for Van Dijk, and especially like this is their last contract, why not try to get one with highest wages possible?
Sure, it would just hurt.
I hear you. Yeah,
it would just hurt real bad. And then, like,
it feels irresponsible too, right?
Yeah, we need to win the Champions League and the Premier League to have the money to recoup those 3 positions, because not only are we like losing them without getting the money in for them, but we're also going to have to pay 30%, 40% more to even get someone close to their standards.
Yeah,
because all 3 go in summer, which I don't think so. But go ahead, Salim.
Yeah, it's interesting. Mo is kind of a unique athlete. His faith. He doesn't drink alcohol. Like, from as far as like an athlete standpoint, like he's the healthiest athlete out there. I mean, I was playing, high school soccer, and I would go out, the night before, and not give a shit. Like these guys, him and Mane, like they were supreme athletes because of that. So I think he's got a couple more years. I completely understand though being like, wait a second, let's not go crazy here. However, Saudi Arabia is like a gold mine, like for anybody that wants to, sell a player that's kind of getting a little bit long in the tooth. So I would like to see. I mean, if I had to choose, I would choose Trent, right? He's 25. He's a Scouser. He's, born and bred. Like, that's the guy. But Virgil's been so damn good this year. And it's like, it just doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. Mo, I think we've all seen, like, he's lost maybe a half step, right? But he's still very good. But if I had to choose, I probably would choose Trent and then Virgil. But man, it's so hard because all of them are so pivotal in what we do.
See, I would pick Verge.
To go or to stay?
No, to stay. I would pick, because I feel like you take, if I want to keep one in the starting 11, I'm keeping Verge. Just because everything, I think it's like a house of cards. If Verge comes out of that middle of that defense, everything falls apart. So I feel, and I think you can get another 2, 3, 4 years out of Verge in a really high level. I don't think you can for a Mo.
He's playing sweeper right now, basically. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Ibu's doing all the hard work for him, and he's just mopping up at the back. Like you can maintain that with your level of skill and game reading. Like we saw, like at the end of like Jamie Carragher's career, where like he was the slowest person on any team. He might have been the slowest player in the Premier League, but he could cut angles, and he could read the game and know like yeah, it might be 3 passes from now, but if I don't take 2 steps back, I will never catch him on this angle. And Verge has that game readership that he can he'll cut the angles off for 2-3 more seasons. I think in terms of like what you can find in a transfer market, Mo is the most replaceable. And we're never, like we always say, we're never going to get a Mo. But like think about even the last 10 years, the players that have given us 20 goals a season. We've had a number of them. So I think it's easier to find someone that can give you goals than it is for like a solid center back player.
Yeah, I mean, like you're not going to just replace Mo with Mo, like quality right away. That's just not going to happen. I mean, look at what we went through on the left-hand side, for example, right? But I mean, like Salim was just saying just now, like he's already lost a step. And we can see it. So in 2 years from now, how many more steps will that be? We don't know. I mean, for a guy his age, he's in great shape, but you can already kind of see the top speed has gone down. But, when we were talking about Mo Mane, I always said Mo because I knew Mo can adjust his game a bit more. He wasn't as speed reliant because he can create for others. He has the field vision that Mane did not. Mane was just like a really fast dude that could go anywhere. And you were like, holy cow, this guy can pop any angle. Like, I don't know where he's going to go kind of thing. I feel like as a defender, I mean, going like Carragher, right? I mean, you can adjust your game if you're like a slow ass guy like me. And you can like take this proper angles and you can like adjust your game, your positioning. And there's another thing, like your positioning over time, especially a guy like Verge who's really good at it, can carry you. And you can kind of still be very successful, keep going forward. If you're a winger and if you don't have that threat of I can throw the ball past you and run past you, well, it's very easy to defend the winger who can't run past you because they don't have that top speed anymore. Because all they're going to do is stay. Like, I'm just going to stand in front of you and you're defended kind of a deal. So I feel like if I'm keeping one person, I am probably keeping Verge if I picked one out of the 3. It would be criminal, I think, like Alan was saying earlier. Yeah, it would be criminal if all 3 players were. Muchin is faster than Mbappe said. Hey, Richard is back in action. What's up, Richard? How do you like the soccer games? But
I was going to say, Slim said soccer, so it's summon Richard from there.
Yeah, exactly.
whatever crypt he crawls out of on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, Slim doesn't know. Richard gets confused very easily. He doesn't understand what sport we're talking about. Not everybody is as sharp as you would like him to be. Right? Fun fact, actually, I did pull Mbappe. I was just telling these guys earlier in FIFA last night. So, and he's fast, but nobody is faster than me.
So you're saying, are you Mbappe now? Like you're living vicariously through Mbappe?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the only time I'm going to be fast is playing Mbappe on FIFA. Replacing Robertson is the biggest show. I've been talking about this for 3 months. Sign Trent, sign Verge.
I think we missed an opportunity this summer from a team that went down. I thought Alfie Dowdy for what team was that? Luton Town. I thought he was really solid as a left back. It kind of reminded me of Robertson when Hull went down. I thought for sure they would go in for him. He's a stocky guy, pretty fast, gets up and down the field. I think he was 26, maybe. I thought he was going to be a guy that they'd sign. So I agree that left back is going to be an issue. The problem is with Robertson is he's played so much. Like they play a lot of games and, he plays internationally. At some point it's got to go, and I think we're seeing the twilight of Robo, even though he's still kind of, relatively solid.
But I think, this goes back to the whole, see what Slot wants, because I think the left back we're used to is not the left back that he wants, or the right back we're used to is not the right back he wants, kind of a thing. He wants different things from the positions based on how we're lining up, or heck, maybe he just looked at this and said, this is the best way to do it what we have now. But if we add this piece, then we can do that kind of a thing. We don't know. This is basically the best dish you can come up with the ingredients in the kitchen. Maybe it's if you guys buy this, I'll make you some even better stuff kind of a deal. So, I mean, we don't know. And that's going to be the interesting part to see. But I don't know who they end up being able to keep. But I do agree that, we don't want to lose all 3, most importantly on a free more than anything else. I think losing them will not be as big of a deal if you got some money for them. But yeah, it is kind of criminal to lose and get 0 for arguably your top guy in every line kind of a deal. But I'm right. You know what I mean? So, I had a question in mind, and it just like slipped me. Liverpool have been so incredible over the decades. Liverpool always seem to find the next best goal scorer. That's a good point too. I mean, honestly, if the team is doing well, I mean, you put somebody there, they're gonna get the opportunities, they're gonna finish, and you're gonna create. But I mean, not everybody is more. There's a reason why we're talking about him as one of like the Premier League greats and stuff like that. And I really think Mo actually stays to get those records because I think that does mean a lot to him. And I think he is liking in some ways. He might not. I mean, I find it shocking. I don't know what you guys think, like Gordo, like when you watch Mo, I feel like he's enjoying this a bit more, even though he's actually asked to do more. Like he's asked to defend more than he was. He's not the you stay up, you're the outlet guy anymore. But it feels like because he is still pivotal in the system. I mean, if you look at our passing, it's always like the front play always builds through Mo, and then like Diaz can run behind and stuff like that. You think like the system, what we're doing, or like for like Van Dijk, for example, they're talking about Konate being extended. Obviously, we just did Kwanzaa. These things have like any factor, or just money at the end of the day?
It could be a multitude. I'm gonna go the cynical route and say that it's he just might have no cares. He might know that he's gonna make big money next year. Like, let's just have fun this one last year. It's something a little different. But it's still the same Mo, right? Because he was taken off in Bologna before he scored, and he looked fucking pissed. He did not look very happy. Like he wanted to get a goal.
Yeah.
And so like, we're winning games. Everyone looks like they're having a lot of fun. We start going through a run of games where we lose, or we lose a cup final or something. That tensions might change. So I just think it's a matter of he could just be carefree. He might not have any issues, and that's when you play your best. I mean, if you play the sport, if you have no, you're not apprehensive, you don't have anxiety about anything, that's when you play your best football.
Spike has said this before that we let him go on free, how the wage scale is balanced out. I don't know if I'm buying that personally, because it's not like when the players sign the contract, they know how they're going to end up leaving to agree on those wages. But I mean, you might have a point to it in terms of like what we spend, and then we can kind of like go buy somebody on a free ourselves. I don't know. It's just going to be, I know this is probably, I mean, I already see like Bellingham looked at Trent and Bellingham did this and stuff like that being recruited for Real. But let's face it, we've got the same shit when Bellingham was available and everybody thought he was coming here because he ate lunch with Henderson and Trent. So he's putting butter on Henderson's toast. But yeah, it's international week. Unfortunately, this is why we're talking about random things this week. But Salim Pochettino, excited?
Yeah, I think so. Different level of a coach than what we've had before. Pochettino's had a kind of rough go on the club level. So I think he was mistreated at Tottenham. I thought he was doing a decent job. Was it Tottenham? Chelsea. Sorry, Chelsea. Pardon me.
Yes, yeah.
It's nice to have a name. I don't know how good he'll be, but I'm excited the fact that we have kind of stepped up the level of coach. Maybe he won't be, the coach that brings us to, anything like great. But now other coaches around are saying, "Oh, Pochettino went there. Maybe I should look at it." So I think it's a nice step up, even if it might just be like ceremoniously.
Yeah, I mean, the cynic in me says, and we've seen it. I've seen it back home in Fenerbahce, for example. Like we had like kind of like an ex-player as the coach and stuff like that. And then when they bring Mourinho, we'll be like, "What? At least half all this bullshit, second guessing will stop," kind of a thing. Nope, it does not. You can bring the best manager in the world or whatever, the best career and everything, and people will still second guess. But does it help, Gordo, having a name in charge? So maybe there's like, or at least a new guy, so that the old dirt is not being rehashed over and over and over again.
Well, like you said, it's unfortunately it's a system that's completely corrupted. It needs a complete washout before anybody, even the best manager. Because I like what Sergi says here. I don't think Poch is overrated, but I think the U.S. men's national team is a good move for him because I think that he's had his hand at coaching and just hasn't worked out in his favor. I think the closest that he got was, and he should have been given more time at Tottenham, honestly, because I think he was just a couple of pieces away from giving them a trophy at least, or even the title. So it was unfortunate, but he went through the ringer, right? He went to all the big teams, couldn't really do much with them, got let go. So I think this is a good test for him. But in order for him to be the guy, it's got to be a total system change. And I don't think it's going to happen with him. So I'm with Salim. I think he's the guy before the guy. If there is a guy, I don't think
the guy behind the guy. Yeah,
I don't think there is going to be a guy for the U.S. men's national team for a while until we change the system. Our biggest issue here is pay to play. It's unbelievable how many people we turn away with talent because it's just too expensive to get good coaching here. And until that changes, we're not going to see a good U.S. men's national team we're not one that will compete with the rest of the world. I did though. I shared something. It's probably too late now. I didn't know if we were going to talk about Poch, but I shared something in the Discord with his outfit on the first day that he was coaching for the U.S. men's national team. And I just have to say, Poch, you don't have to become American to coach an American team.
Hold on, now I got to see this. Wait, I missed it.
Like he changed his style, which is like, everyone knows that like one girl from high school that like everybody she dated, she just like, now I'm into grunge and now I like heavy metal. And it's like, no, you don't. You're just dating someone that does. You have no identity. So it bothers me that he looks like he's gone full American.
What is he wearing, man? I didn't see that picture, so now you got me all intrigued.
He's got a hat. He's got his he's got his hoodie like tied around his waist. Gym shoes and high socks. Like
he's going around with like a Texas accent.
Yeah. Howdy, everyone. Welcome to first training.
Okay, folks, here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, it should be interesting. Ryan says U.S. actually has a couple of big games, and then follows up with we play Panama. Come on, man. This is what the U.S. soccer thing. And this is what I can't personally. It's like people, especially like people with U.S. soccer or football for Richard, who talk shits about, I guess like Turkey and stuff like that. I had a buddy who was like, you guys didn't even make it to the World Cup. But we don't play fucking Panama to get to the World Cup. Like some of us have to play Netherlands and shit like that to get to the World Cup and not Panama. But yeah, Panama being a big game, I think, by itself. I think that's like the biggest issue is they don't have a lot of big tests for Poch till they get to the Cup now. They kind of like missed that opportunity. Probably a move that should have been done a lot earlier. But let's face it, for Pochettino, it's a good gig because even if he sucks at it, at the end he can be like, yeah, there's no fixing this, and then he can leave. Like, like he can be like, yeah, that's why nobody's going to fix this. This is pay to play over here. The whole culture has to change. It's like a no risk thing for him. So I actually felt like, you know what? That's not a bad job because if he does well, first of all, he can only improve it, right? Because, I mean, it's been like tragically poor in terms of how they play, especially with the squad they have and stuff. I know the expectations have gone up a bit more, but at the end of the day, he can just walk away saying like, yeah, there's no fixing this. The system needs to change. I can't change the system. What's the next job? And then just go somewhere else kind of thing. And he has to hang out in US and wear hoodies and hats and shit. So you can't beat it with a stick. Hey, Thida is here. Still looking for that DM. But January, man, January. There were already some transfer rumors today, and I'm like, I am not going there. And talking like transfer rumors and freaking first week of October. I need a month off at least, and then when we get to December or whatever, we'll start talking about it. But hey, thanks a lot, gentlemen, for hopping on. Everybody enjoy your Wednesday. Thanks for all the comments and stuff. Give us a like, a follow, all that buttons on the bottom over there, except the thumbs on. Hit all those things. And then the boys will be back tomorrow night. Mecca, Shelton, and Trevor, who was cracking up his one-liners today. So you can get more of those one-liners if you tune in tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. But have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.